Hi guys, today I got a book haul for you. We're just gonna jump right into it. These are some new releases, some thrifted books, some special editions. Got a whole good variety for you today. So gonna start off with my most recent Fairy Loot book, and that is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. This is a variation of the UK cover, so it's got the suits of armor and this really gorgeous archway, and then being Fairy Loot, it's got sprayed and stenciled edges. It's gorgeous. And yeah, I was very excited for this book, so I was really happy to find out that it was going to be in a Fairy Loot, and this follows a young woman who finds out that her love is getting married to another, and she enlists in the help of a immortal being to sort of help her stop this wedding, and he agrees to do that in exchange for 3 kisses given at his sort of preferred time and place. But this seems to backfire on our main character, and I don't know if she falls in love with this immortal being or what. I'm very curious. This is a sort of spin-off of the Caraval series, which I have not yet read, but I believe this will read as a standalone, and I'm very excited to get to it. The next sort of special edition book I have is the anniversary edition, the UK anniversary edition of V.E. Schwab's The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Again, this is a variation of the original UK hardcover. It's white instead of black and dark blue, and it's just so pretty. I have a couple US editions, but I've always really loved the UK edition and was hoping to get my hands on it. And when I saw that they were doing an anniversary edition, I was so thrilled because the white and the gold is just so pretty. This also has sort of grayish blue sprayed edges on the top and bottom, and stenciled flowered edges on the side. It also has a gold ribbon and artwork on the end papers, as well as foiled art on the hardcover case, both front and back. And it has full glossy illustrations on the inside. There's some fan art. I don't know if this must have been officially licensed because they're using it in this published version, but we have fan art of our sort of 3 main characters in the middle, and it's so gorgeous. I love this book, and there's a couple anniversary editions floating around right now, and I would like to get one of the US ones eventually. I believe the Barnes & Noble is red, and the sort of more general special edition is blue. And they're so lovely. They're gorgeous books. The story is one of my favorites, and I'm just so happy to have another special edition of this to add to my collection. I was waiting for this from Waterstones for so long. It published late, but oh god, it's so pretty. And if you don't know, which this was a really popular book when it came out last year, so you might already know, and I've talked about it on this channel a couple of times. This story follows a young woman named Addie LaRue who makes a deal with sort of a god of darkness to live forever, and that's not necessarily her intention when striking this deal. She just wants to be free of the societal expectations that are put upon her. She wants to live life, and as a young French girl in like the 1700s about to get married off to some dude she doesn't want to be married to, she feels trapped and ends up making this deal with a devil-like character. And again, it sort of backfires in her face, but she tries to make the most of this curse, and sort of the backfire of it is that, yeah, she lives forever, but no one can remember her. As soon as she leaves their line of sight, their memory is wiped clean of her, and it makes it really hard for her to build any sort of sense of a life, and she can't grow close to anyone because they don't remember her. In the more modern day setting, she ends up meeting a young man named Henry, and he does remember her. So this is a lovely story, made me cry. I love V.E. Schwab's writing, and yeah, so if you haven't read it, highly recommend, and I'm so happy to have this in my collection now. Another book I picked up recently was Certain Dark Things by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I love this author so much. I've read Mexican Gothic and The Beautiful Ones by her and absolutely loved them. I think her writing is gorgeous. This cover is gorgeous. This is a republished sort of backlist book for her. I think her initial publisher like went under or something, and so Tor is now republishing some of her older books and giving them new covers and stuff. I really wish this came out in hardcover because I really love the illustration and but it is very gorgeous. And this is like a neo-noir vampire story that takes place in Mexico City, and that's all I needed to know before I picked up this book because that sounds incredible. I was hoping to read this around Halloween because of the vampires, but my TBR was so loaded I didn't get to it, but I am so excited to get to it. Again, I love Sylvia Moreno Garcia's writing, and I just really admire that she does something so different with every book she does. Like, no two are the same or even remotely similar, and I think it's hard to do that, so I really admire that, and I'm so looking forward to reading this. This next book was a really cool find because this is a pretty new release. It just came out in June, I believe, and it is called 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. I literally just realized this was an ARC copy, which is probably why it was in my bookstore's 50-cent bin, as you're not typically supposed to sell ARCs, but it looks like they probably did a buyback and this was in there. But yeah, this was a pretty new book. Yeah, it just came out in June 2021. And I don't know a whole lot about this other than that it is a romance, but like it goes deeper than just like a rom-com. So the flap says 7 days to fall in love, 15 years to forget, and 7 days to get it all back again. So it sounds like this is like a second chance romance. It follows a woman named Eva Mercy, and she's a single mom and best-selling romance writer who's feeling pressed from all sides. And the love interest is Shane Hall, a reclusive, enigmatic, award-winning novelist. They sort of meet unexpectedly at a literary event and sparks fly. But what no one knows is that 15 years earlier, teenage Eva and Shane spent one crazy torrid week madly in love. While they may be pretending not to know each other, they can't deny their chemistry or the fact that they've been secretly writing to each other in their books through the years. So yeah, I don't know, this sounds like, sounds epic in scope, where there was 15 years between them first meeting and now, and their feelings don't seem to have faded, and I don't know, I've heard good things about this, so I was really excited to find this at my local bookstore for 50 cents, and I snatched it up. Another really good deal I found was books 2 and 3 of the Red Rising trilogy. I picked up the first book also in the 50-cent bin a few months ago, and that one was a little beat up, which is why it was in the 50-cent bin. But these were only $3 each, and they're like they're paperback, so they're a little like, you can see some wear on the spine, but otherwise in much better condition than Red Rising was. And they were only $3, so I've got the whole trilogy for $6.50, which is awesome. I do plan, if I do end up really liking these, to purchase these sometime in hardcover, but I figured where I wasn't sure whether or not I was gonna like the series. I feel like I will, because everyone that I follow that I have like similar reading tastes of, like, they've loved it. But yeah, I don't know, I saw this and I couldn't pass it up, and yeah, so I hope to get to this series sometime soon, maybe not before the end of the year, but early next year, because I've just heard really great things and I want to get to it as soon as I can. Next up, we have my book of the month choice for November, which is The Keeper of Night by Kylie Lee Baker. The front says, "Death is her destiny." And I believe she is like hundreds of years old. She's like a half British Reaper and half Japanese Shinigami, which is such a cool concept. Like, I love the idea of sort of like these Western and Eastern views of like death gods and whatnot coming together. I just think that sounds so cool. But the flap says, Ren Scarborough has been collecting souls in the London streets for centuries. Expected to obey the harsh hierarchy of the Reapers who despise her due to her mysterious mother and even more mysterious Shinigami powers, Ren conceals her emotions and avoids her tormentors as best she can. When her failure to control her developing Shinigami abilities drives Ren out of London, she flees to Japan in search of the acceptance she's never gotten from her fellow Reapers. Accompanied by her younger brother, the only being on Earth to care for her, Ren enters Yomi, the Japanese underworld, to serve the goddess of death, only to learn that here too she must prove herself worthy. Determined to earn respect, Ren accepts an impossible task: find and eliminate 3 dangerous yokai demons. With the help from only her brother and a new ally who might be less than trustworthy, Ren will learn how far she'll go to claim her place at death's side. This sounds incredible! I was really excited because Book of the Month does not do a lot of fantasy picks. A lot of their stuff is like thrillers or historical fiction. That's fine. I love those when I'm in the mood for them, but like fantasy is my comfort genre, and I was excited when I heard this book was coming out, and even more excited when I found out it was a book of the month choice. So picked this one immediately, and I'm so excited to get to it. Again, I really love sort of like the concept of these, like the Shinigami meets the Reaper, and then you also have yokai, which I literally just learned about, or more in depth about, in one of the last books I read, Nothing But Blackened Teeth. And yeah, so like, I don't know, just the way all that worked out was fabulous, and I'm so excited to get to this one. Next up, we have a couple that I bought secondhand online, and the first one is The Broken Girls by Simone St. James. I read The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James last month, and was like so taken by surprise with how much I loved it. I know it was pretty popular on like thriller side of BookTube, and like, oh my gosh, not quite so much a thriller, but it is like a paranormal mystery, and I was so invested. Like, that was a 5 out of 5 star for me. I had so much fun reading that book. So I wanted to read her other rather popular book before. She's got a new book in March coming out. I think it's called Cold Case Files or something like that. That might be the name of a TV show. I don't remember. It's Cold Case something. But yeah, so while I'm waiting for the new release, I figured I'd go back and read a backlog pick. And this, I also think, where The Sundown Motel kind of dealt with dual timelines. We had like this 80s storyline with this woman named Vivian, and a more modern day storyline with her niece Carly investigating Vivian's disappearance. I think Simone St. James does a really good job of like writing these dual timeline stories that, like, the way the information is revealed and like the timing of it just works so perfectly. So I believe this is also a dual timeline mystery. And the flap says the first one takes place in Vermont, 1950. At a boarding school, there's a place for girls whom no one wants, the troublemakers, the illegitimate, the too smart for their own good. It's called Idlewild Hall. In their small town where it's located, there are rumors that the boarding school is haunted. 4 roommates bond over their whispered fears, their budding friendship blossoming, until one of them mysteriously disappears. And then in 2014, we have another storyline following a journalist named Fiona Sheridan, who cannot stop revisiting the events surrounding her eldest sister's death. 20 years ago, her body was found dumped in the overgrown fields near the ruins of Idlewild Hall, and though her sister's boyfriend was tried and convicted of murder, Fiona can't shake the suspicion that something was never right about the case. So where Sundown Motel deals with a haunted motel, it looks like we have a haunted boarding school in this one, and I'm just so thrilled. I was able to pick this up secondhand for a fairly good price, so I'm really excited to get into it. Hopefully again soon, because I really loved Sundown Motel, and I'm just kind of rearing for another sort of mystery thriller. I really liked how she wrote the previous one, so I'm curious to see how similar this one is. Again, where they have the similar structure, I don't know, like, if it's gonna feel like more of the same, or if it's still gonna feel like its own individual thing. We'll see, but I'm so excited to get to this one. And then the other one I bought online, which is in a slightly worse shape, but it's fine. That's sort of the risk of buying used online, is We Keep the Dead Close by Becky Cooper. This is a nonfiction true crime book that follows Becky Cooper's investigation of sort of this murder at Harvard that happened in 1969. As Harvard was absorbing sort of the sister girls' school, there was a young student who was murdered, I think, in her dorm room. And then while Becky Cooper was an undergrad at Harvard, she is learning about these, like, there's a bunch of rumors surrounding this young woman's death. There's rumors that she was like sleeping with a professor and he killed her. And so Becky's like really taken with the story and wants to learn like what actually happened, because the case has gone cold. Nobody knows. So I don't know a whole lot beyond that, but I am trying to read more nonfiction. And I figure, nonfiction November, that's a thing, I think. So I'm hoping to get to this pretty soon. Like I did with The Ice Pick Surgeon, I'll probably read this sort of in small chunks. I don't usually blast through nonfiction unless it's like in an audiobook or something, but yeah, I'm excited to get to this one. And I've heard good things, so hopefully it doesn't disappoint. Next up, we have a couple of spooky books that I purchased in October, hoping to read them for the Halloween season, but did not get to, obviously. The first being The Kingdom of the Cursed by Carrie Maniscalco. This is the sequel to Kingdom of the Wicked, which I read a couple months ago, and it was so fun. Kingdom of the Wicked follows a woman named Amelia, and She's investigating the brutal murder of her twin sister, and it seems like demons and princes of hell were involved, and she ends up summoning one of the princes of hell, Wrath, to help her investigate and find out what was behind her sister's murder. The previous book left off on quite a bit of a cliffhanger, so I'm really excited to get to this one. I believe it takes place more in like hell than where the previous book took place in Italy. So I'm very curious to see how that develops. I also think this is more of like a new adult book, where the last one was pretty solidly YA. So I don't know if things are gonna get steamy or what, but there was a lot of really fun tension between her and Wrath in the last book. And they had really funny banter. I liked that quite a bit. It was one of my favorite things about Kingdom of the Wicked. So very excited to read this. Kingdom of the Wicked was a pretty fast read, and I expect this one to be as well. So hopefully soon. And this next one was also a really anticipated release for me, and I do hope to get to it soon. And that is The Death of Jane Lawrence by Caitlin Starling. This is like a gothic historical fiction. It follows a woman named Jane Lawrence who kind of just like, she willingly enters this marriage of convenience because society expects her to be married, but she's not really interested in doing that. So she ends up meeting this guy who's willing to marry her and still let her have her independence, with the exception that she is not allowed to visit his family home. Of course, she ends up visiting his family home, I think because of like inclement weather or something, and she finds her new husband to be very changed. He's paranoid, he's just a totally different man than the one she married. And so there's this mystery behind why he's acting like that and what's wrong with the home. Is it haunted? What's going on here? So yeah, really excited to get to this one. It gives me like Jane Eyre vibes, but we'll see. The last few books that I've picked up because they gave me Jane Eyre vibes were not like disappointing, but they didn't blow me away. So I'm hoping this one does. And I would definitely like to get to this in the fall or winter, just because like the gothic story because gothic stories really like give me more of that sort of atmospheric late year feeling. So I would love to get to this one before the end of the year, but we shall see. My TBR before the end of the year is like honestly ridiculous. I don't know who I think I am. And last up, we have a couple more really good bargain finds from my local bookstore. And they're both Book of the Month editions of books that I was thinking about getting from Book of the Month, but I'm glad I didn't jump on them because I found these each for $3. The first one is The Last Summer at the Golden Hotel, which really reminds me, just this cover reminds me of that season of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel where she's spending the summer in the Catskills. Like, this is that. And if it's, I hope it's similar to that. I do believe it actually takes place in the Catskills. Yeah, so the flap says, a family reunion in the Catskills brings hilarity and nostalgia when two clans convene for the summer at their beloved getaway. So this just seems to me like a historical fiction. I'm kind of hoping it's more of like a feel-good story. It seems really light. It gives me summery vibes. The flap further says, in its heyday, the Golden Hotel was the crown jewel of the hotter-than-hot Catskills vacation scene. For more than 60 years, the Goldman and Weingold families, best friends and business partners, have presided over this glamorous resort, which serves as a second home for well-heeled guests and celebrities. But the Catskills are not what they used to be, and neither is the relationship between the Goldmans and the Weingolds. As the facilities and management begin to fall apart, a tempting offer to sell forces the two families together again to make a heart-wrenching decision. Can they save their beloved Golden, or is it too late? Long-buried secrets emerge, new dramas and financial scandal erupt, and everyone from the traditional grandparents to the millennial grandchildren want a say in the hotel's future. And it's just, this seems, again, it's Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, right? Like, but with a modern-day thing as well. I'm excited, and again, I was eyeing this one from Book of the Month for a while. It was an add-on a few months ago, I believe, and I'm glad I waited, because I got a really good deal on it. And next up is a cozy mystery called Arsenic and Adobo. I believe this follows a young woman like working in her family's restaurant, and her ex-boyfriend comes in and she serves him, and then he dies. And she finds herself at the center of this investigation and like as a prime suspect in his murder. So I just thought that was like a really fun setup. Oh, not an ex-boyfriend, oh wait, no. It is her ex-boyfriend, but also a notoriously nasty food critic. So yeah, this sounds really fun. I've heard it's like very cozy, so it's not like, it's got the mystery and the murder, but it's not spooky, and that's fun too. Plus, I really love, the sticker's kind of covering this up, but she's got like a little Dachshund, and he's also over here too. This just seems so cute and I can't wait to read it. And that is all the books for this particular book haul. I was on a bit of a no-buy a few months ago, and I've really been holding out for good deals or special editions, so that's what most of these are. And as you can see, I still have quite a few of them I was able to haul, even though I've been a little bit more selective about what I've been picking up. And I'm really excited to get to all of these. I will not be getting to all of them by the end of the year, but hopefully soon. And yeah, tell me down below, what should I read first? Have you read any of these? Which ones did you really like? My ears are open. I'm totally receptive to suggestions. But thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and follow my socials down below in the description box, and have a wonderful day. Bye.